Well. Welcome to another episode of Conversations with Coach La. I'm excited to be in the building with you guys tonight. We have a special show because it is Women's HerStory Month, and I have none other than Miss Remy in the city in the building with me this evening. And we are going to be talking about women in broadcasting, mompreneurs, and all of the things that make us great in the area of radio and broadcasting. So you guys know it's radio with a purpose. And you also know that what we do here at Urban Heat is really provide opportunities for individuals to showcase their voice, to talk about what matters to them. And so this is why it's really exciting to have a conversation with Miss Remy, Miss Chanel Remy to be exact, because you know she got her government name. And she's here, she's here in the building with me, looking fabulous as always. So let me tell you a little bit about Miss Remy, because I think her story, a lot of the listeners will be able to resonate with her story. And if you didn't know, you're tuned into the Urban Heat 98.1 FM. I am Coach La, your host, your favorite around the way therapist. And what we do every Sunday evening at 10 p.m. is have conversations with real people about everyday life, about when life starts life and what do they do, right? And so, I always have to ask them my two standard questions, which I'm about to drop those on Miss Remy. But Miss Remy, aka Remy in the City, is a mommy. She's an innovative entrepreneur holding space in media, radio, and social justice as a brand owner. She has channeled her many talents into creative ventures. And one of the things that she's created right here on the Urban Heat, well, actually, no, she didn't create it on the Urban Heat, but she's brought it over to the Urban Heat, which is R&B and Chill, which is broadcasted every single week live, where she brings back and reminds us that R&B is still alive. She also created, which I did not know this, which I want to know more about, a social justice organization called We Power in 2017. And the goal of that business was to provide strategies, collaborative strategies to empower, engage, uplift, and educate the Black community. So let me make sure, let me see, where you at? You at mic 3, I think. Turn them all on. Let's see. Can we hear you now? Nope. So it must be this one. What about now?
Mic check.
There we go. We got you on 4, baby.
Coach La.
Listen, what's going on, Miss Remy?
Good evening, my love.
You came in like a superstar for real.
I usually have that energy. You know what I mean? It's literally giving that usually.
Wait, she came in like, yep, I have arrived. Remy is here. Standard diva lateness.
You know what? I love you for that.
Listen. And I'm like, you know what? We gonna start this show. We gonna ad lib, and she gonna walk in here, and you sure enough did right on the dime. So, Miss Remy,
yes,
talk to me about how you ventured over into radio and broadcasting, right?
Ooh.
But before we go there, because the show's all about therapy, I want you to do what only you can and tie that into what therapy means to you. And what I'm hoping is that your music is therapy for you. So this is all going to tie in real nice.
You better come on through, giving me what I need, okay?
It's going to tie in real nice.
Okay.
So tell me, Miss Remy.
I'll tell you what therapy means
what does
to
therapy
me
mean
first
to you?
and foremost.
Yes.
I first and foremost want to say good evening to everybody, and thank Coach La for providing a dynamic platform that gives people an opportunity to really speak their truth and come from a place of honesty. And that's really important because there's not a lot of spaces for that. A lot of times we wear masks and we cover up what we really feel to fit in or make other people comfortable, right? So
yes, being authentically yourself is both a blessing and a challenge.
It is both.
It is both.
So if you ask me what therapy means to me, therapy is a release. Therapy is a place where you are able to just be honest. Forget about who else is in the room, your therapist. It's being honest with yourself. And when you have an opportunity to be vulnerable, that opens up places inside of you that you didn't even know existed. So therapy for me is a deep dive into yourself and an honesty with yourself to really get a cure for what's ailing you.
Sound like a therapy moment right
Man,
there.
come on,
You know,
let's
that's some
snap it up.
deepness.
Absolutely.
You know, and I think, you know, sometimes when we think about therapy, there's stigma that goes along with it, but we don't want to have stigma, right? We don't want to have stigma. When we think about therapy, we want to think about it as being therapeutic, right? And something that's going to be healing and allows you to be vulnerable, allows you to feel good about yourself. Although we know that when you go get a massage, tell me this, because I always talk to my clients about this. A massage feels good, right? But when you get a deep tissue massage,
girl, that hurts.
It hurts.
Yes.
Right? But you still want it. You still want to get rubbed.
They're really working your muscles.
Right.
And I don't always feel good, but they know what they're doing because they're getting to the bone gristle. They're getting to the meat of the real problem because they know your body. Right. So they're like, if I don't ease this up, I can't fix this what's on top.
And have you ever had a massage where you didn't even know that particular area of your body was even hurting until they touched it?
Well, let me shout out my masseuse, B. Eddie's Body Works in Randolph, because he's a beast. But yes, I've had him touch places down below that resolve what was happening up top.
There you go. And that's, I think, a lot of times what happens when people come to a session is they say, I don't even know why I'm here, or I don't really think I need therapy, or I don't want to talk about my childhood. All I want to do is focus on what's going wrong in my marriage.
It doesn't work.
And as we do talk therapy, which is what a psychotherapist is, all I am is someone who gets you to talk.
Is that what we're here for today?
The more you talk, the more you open up. And I like to think of people as like onions. Right? Like, you know, the more you pull back a layer, you start to cry, you start to get deeper and deeper to what is really the funk, if you want to call it. The funk of the stuff is in there. Yes. But I love how you describe what therapy is, because I do think it's a place to open up.
Vulnerable.
And be vulnerable. So that's a very therapeutic, poetic way to describe it.
I'm sensitive about it because I know it's like something that's very hard for people to get to. It's hard to admit that you even need therapy. A lot of people think that therapy means you're crazy, and that word should not be used lightly. I think that people saying like therapy is, oh, I must be off the edge, or I can't be in control of myself. No, therapy is a time for you to be honest with yourself. Like, I might be in a space where I just need to resolve whatever's ailing me right now. Right. You could go on to whatever else you're doing in the world, but something is holding you. You know what I'm saying? And like, therapy is a realization that like, I just want to be one with myself and deal with what I'm dealing with right now.
Right. I think when you think about that, so thinking about what tonight's conversation is about, right, is women in broadcasting. And,
ooh, yes.
And what I found a couple of things that I didn't know if you knew. And I'm going to share a couple of these things that I learned. And amongst podcast listeners, because I'm both a radio, we both kind of do radio and podcast simultaneously, right, that 55% are women.
Really?
55%.
That's interesting, because I always thought it was a male-dominated industry.
So what I found...
So the fellas are not running this.
What I found out is among monthly Black podcast listeners... monthly. Women listen monthly on a monthly basis. It's 55%. But weekly, the men like to listen on a weekly basis.
Okay. I thought you were talking about the actual, like, us.
Yes. Well, what I found out, like, who's listening. So, like, on average right now, like, women are definitely listening on a monthly basis, but the men are also listening. So I thought that was really interesting. And then 75% of all Black monthly podcast listeners frequently or occasionally follow or seek out content that focuses on Black stories and perspectives.
Our stories are important.
So representation matters. So
it definitely does.
I say all of that to say, Conversations with Coach La tells people's story. And this is Women's History, or HerStory Month.
HerStory.
So I know we usually talk about ancestors and all of the women in history before us, but I really wanted to showcase women that were alive right now, doing the daggone thing, and give people their flowers, not once they're no longer here. So that's one reason why I wanted you on the show, because I think you're an inspiration. And as we learn more about your story, which I'm about to ask you now, is what is your bet on self moment? right? And you
Ooh, I
probably
love
have
that
heard
bet
me
on self.
saying this often, right? But a bet on self moment is that epiphany. It's that moment that you say, you know what? If not now, when? If not me, who?
Wow.
None of this is my fault, but it is my responsibility to take the reins of my life. And my current situation is not my final destination. So I'm a bet on me.
Okay.
When have you had a moment like that?
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. All the time.
Yeah.
You know what's scary and invigorating at the same time?
Tell
the
us.
fact that the way that I am, I'm always pulling from me and God. That's all I got.
Right.
I could put a million people around me, but they won't understand what I need to do what I do. And that is what sometimes feels lonely. So when I see you posting bet on self, it's a constant reminder of something that I've always known.
Right.
But you know how easy it is to forget when someone's not constantly telling you, like, you got it, you can do it. Those little things get you up sometimes. Like, oh, stop playing with me. Like, okay, yeah, I really
Don't
got
play
it.
with it.
Don't play
That's
with
what
it.
you say on your
Don't
show every
play with
week,
it.
right?
Oh, don't play with me. Stay with me. That's
Yes,
really my
yes,
thing.
yes.
But bet on self means if everybody else fails you, you still have yourself. Whatever you pull from yourself, whether it's your talent, whether it's even your trauma, if that propels you to do something that works in your benefit, that's how you bet on self.
Yeah, that's well said. If everybody else
Hold on,
fails,
what Drake say? You got it, girl. You
got
got
it.
it, girl.
she got to bring the music in
Yes.
it. We got to bring the music in it.
Because he was talking to the ladies.
He was.
Like, that's life. Like, you got
Yes.
it, girl. You don't got to worry about it. You got it.
So when you think about, you say it's every day, and it's one of my other hashtags is bet on self every day, because you really do have to embrace this. So my father said it to me. So when I would get down on myself or feel like, I couldn't accomplish something, he would just be like, baby, you need to bet on you. You need to bet on yourself. So as much as it's something a lot of people say, like, my father's no longer here. So that's been sort of my movement to remind myself, what, I would hear his voice, like, bet on yourself. You got this. So it's a mindset.
It's definitely a mindset.
It's a mantra, and it's a lifestyle. So you can just literally wake up and be like, yep, bet on self. And that's all you got to say.
Coach.
Yes.
Your bet on self is like a whole statement. You know what I used to always tell myself when I felt defensive? You know how people say things to you and they make you feel alienated, like they're going to leave you, or without me, you're nothing?
Yes.
Like, my statement was always, I'm good on my own too.
Ooh.
And that's my two hands, my two eyes, my 2 feet, my 2 ears. Like,
Hey, yes.
I'm good on my own too. And that's how I used to really propel myself through things, because a lot of times, especially when you're an ambitious person, and then in a woman at that, people will alienate you to hope that you give up or need them.
Ooh.
Girl,
To
okay?
hope that you give up or that you'll
need
need them.
Right? And that's a measure of control that they have over you.
Right.
If you can't do anything without them, or you can't sustain yourself without them, you're lost or you're done. So that's when I learned, like you say, bet on self.
You
And
gotta
like
you
I
gotta
say,
do it.
I'm good on my own too.
You're good on your own too. You gotta bet on self. It's something that I think we all have to tap into.
Deeply.
And the other piece of that is embracing failure.
Talk about it, sis.
Okay.
Come on now, sis. You
So-
know I'm here. Like, you know me. I'm here for that.
So you think about me and you share a story. This isn't our first rodeo when it comes to being on radio. We've had other experiences.
Mine
Some
dates
people
back to 2007.
Thank you. So some people think, oh wow, we just started at the Urban Heat, and little do you know, like, my radio days go all the way back to That's Hits Radio.
Oh my God.
That was the first radio station that I ever was interviewed on, and ended up co-hosting and coming back and sitting in as a guest host.
Wow.
That's how far back my days go back. I don't even know what year that was, but that's how long ago. Shout out to Miss Angela Dickinson. She actually got me that first interview
Okay, come through, Dickinson family.
on That's Hit Radio, and it was called The Cornerstone, I believe it. No, it was called The Community Bench was the name of the show.
Okay.
So
You
that's
know when I started, I think I fibbed a little bit. So before podcasting was podcasting, I got to give a big shout out to my street queens. So we were podcasting when we didn't know what podcasting
right.
was.
Okay.
So it was women, Boston, New Jersey, D.C., another woman from New York, and then Maryland. And we would once a week get on and talk about women's issues, and we were the street queens. And that's before podcasting was a thing.
Right.
This was
So
like
what platform was you
2006.
using then?
Girl, you know what? Oh my God. That's crazy. Facebook, maybe? This
I don't know.
so
Was that
long
back
ago.
when MySpace was going on?
MySpace, yep. This was a long time ago, and I got to give a shout out to my street queens because we were innovative then. We was
Yes.
we was traveling together, meeting in New York, interviewing Queen Pen. We was outside with it.
Okay. So I was about to
Then.
say, so back then, it was more bring your video camera
Yes, and really just
and VCR tapes.
and you know
VHS
how many moments?
tapes.
If I had them moments, I would be in some money right now because we was doing real things before there was like Snapchat and Instagram and all them things. But women are innovators. That's what we do.
we definitely
Men are
are.
too. I'm not
Right,
saying
right,
that, but we're
right.
talking about the ladies right now.
Yeah.
But we're not afraid to get up and go and do something and also push those doors open when people said that we can't do it. If we can see it, we can make it happen.
So dating all the way back to then, you said street queens.
Street queens.
Street queens.
I can't
Sound
wait.
like a street team, right? Back when
Back in the day.
everything was on foot and you just walked around and you had to have a mouthpiece. You had to know how to talk back then.
Connect with people in real life.
So then you have created. So you have a whole media broadcasting company. So when did you decide, okay, I'm gonna be Remy in the city?
Wow. So I started out as Miss Toy. Shout out to everybody that knows me as Miss Toy. Shout out to all of the radio. I've been on 3 radio stations. So actually this is my 4th now that I'm at Urban Heat. But when I started, I was Miss Toy. And I still had the same energy. I've only done R&B radio.
Okay.
So when I was at my very first station, I did do some Caribbean things, but I love R&B so much that I've always loved the culture. And I've always loved pushing the culture. So listen. If you know Remy in the city, if you know Miss Toy, just know I've always done R&B radio, and that goes back to 2007.
All right now. So Miss Toy, so now we share another thing in common. Multiple alter egos.
Alter ego.
AKA.
We're
AKA,
evolving.
right?
We're evolving.
So one of the things I love about radio and entertainment is your ability to rebrand yourself. Although some people try to put you in a box, I think we've sort of
We're not
moved
doing
further
that.
and further away from being in a box and just looking at, I'm talented, I'm an entertainer, which means I can do whatever I want. So when did you kind of shift that and say, you know what?
You're going to laugh.
I want to change my name to Remy in the city.
Baby, I stopped calling myself Miss Toy because people kept playing with me.
She's a trip, right, y'all?
And I say now, don't play with me, stay with me.
Yes.
I'm not a toy. I'm not to be played with. So now I shifted, and then Chanel Remy was obviously, my radio moniker was born. And then it switched to my socialite, blogger, persona, Remy in the city. I'm outside. I'm really at the restaurants. Really at the events. I'm showing y'all where to go. This is before we was doing these influencers. Okay?
Yes. Can
So
we
when
talk
I'm
about
talking
that?
When we talk about influencers and y'all are not influencing anything, listen, my story goes deep. I'm a Boston girl. I could go to New York and have DJ Clue get me into Fab's birthday party because they knew who Miss Toy was. That's an influencer. That means I'm really outside. That means I really was making moves, making connections in a different city that wasn't even my own. And this is before everything that everybody does now. So that's how Remy in the city was kind of born. It's not about Boston, which I love and that's my heart, but that's like when I'm outside and I'm doing things, I'm showing you where to do it, how to do it, and who to do it with if you're really outside.
So did you see yourself here in this moment, in this time, doing what you're doing now?
No, I never thought about my next step. I've always been a very present, in the moment type person. Like whatever I'm doing right now, I'm focused on it, like laser focused. Like if I'm in a room, I'm connecting. I want to know who's the people I need to know in the room because the visionary that lives inside of me already knows what the next 2 steps are, but it wasn't 10 steps.
Gotcha. So interesting. So young Remy, what was she like?
Bold AF. bold. I wasn't afraid of anything. I would get up and go. I've been to Cali by myself, met people there. I'ma shake the room. That's the energy that I've had always, because you met me, Coach La. Like, I come in the room as myself. I'm confident and I'm comfortable. And that's not because I'm trying to overshine anybody. It's just because when I'm in a room, I just want y'all to understand, like, I know why I'm here. I don't want to make anyone uncomfortable, but I want to make everybody comfortable. Like, I want y'all to have a good time. So me going out and doing the things that I've done is because it's what I love. It's what I'm passionate about. And I love to connect with people, like, in real life.
So how did you learn to do that?
I never learned nothing. No one taught me anything. The scary thing is that if I was to be who life wanted me to be, I would have no confidence.
Talk to me about that, because that's kind of what I'm getting at. Like, I'm feeling the confidence. I'm feeling the energy.
Yeah.
But did you start off like that, or did you have to bump your head to the white meat a few times and go through some things and then decide, bet on self, I'm not going to not have confidence?
You a whole therapist right now. So what's real is so shout out to everybody. Like, I said that I was going to be honest tonight because I don't talk about myself enough. And I think there's a lot to learn from people. That you see an ambitious woman, you think, oh, she got it. Like, she does that. No.
I need you to give them the real. Cause
sometimes it comes from a very hurt place. Like, it comes from a place where you like, stop trying to diminish me. Stop trying to tell me I can't. I used to get so angry when somebody told me I couldn't do something that I wanted to do double. I want to surpass what they said I couldn't do and do more. And that for me is like, stop trying to, I know who I really am. Sometimes you know who you are and who the world sees you as are two different things. They say, oh, she's this way, but you don't feel that you resonate with how people perceive you.
Yes.
So when I go into, that's why I said when I go into a room, I come in the room as myself. You have to take me as you take me, but don't make up stuff.
Right. So when we think about confidence,
right,
and we think about boldness,
right,
and we think about being brave to be yourself, because one, we're Black women, so let's talk about that, right? Like, in general, you know, we already have a lot of different barriers and things that we have to deal with. You
multitude.
know, right? You know, societal standards of what they feel is beautiful, body, you know, shaming, all of the different things we deal with. You're not short enough. You're not thick enough. You know, you're too big. You're too small. You know, your hair you don't got good hair, and it's not straight enough. It's not long enough.
And it's always something.
You know,
even if you think that you've trumped whatever it is they say, and they make up something else. I hate that for them.
Yeah, I do. So I know for me, I was always feeling like I wasn't enough. You know, I definitely, as I was growing up, didn't feel like the prettiest girl in the room. Didn't feel
gorgeous.
like, thank you. I feel beautiful now, right? But I think a lot of women have compared themselves to other women. And whoever the standard was, or whoever was getting the attention, whoever all the boys was going after, you know, all of those things became, oh, well, you know, she has this or I don't have that, so that's why they don't like me or whatever. I now realize, as I've gotten older, that we all have something beautiful about us, right?
All of
and
us.
Often the girl that was getting the attention was the girl who was confident. That's what things I sort of look back later. She sort of knew who she was and was bold and walked with that confidence. But I often wondered, how did she have that? Now I know, as I've gotten older, that sometimes the most beautiful woman in the room can be the woman with the most issues and the most insecurities. And it can be more of a facade than you know.
Now you talking.
So that's being a therapist and having friends and sort of going through the various things that I've experienced in my own life. So
can I say something about that?
Yes,
because
please.
You asked me about it, right? And that's where it gets deep for me. Coming from where I come from, we're not getting into like my childhood issues that I dealt with. I was a tomboy growing up. Like, I wasn't feminine in that capacity. Like, I ran around with the boys. I loved football. I loved cars. And the boys taught me a lot of game about life. And men, if you have good men in your life, they're going to school a female. They're going to school you. They're going to be like, yeah, that's cute, but that's not gonna work for you. Like, you know, or they'll give you game as to how men maneuver. And I was a tomboy, but I also was like still trying to figure out that I want to be a feminine woman, and I had to go through phases, right? I was a hurt young girl, like hurt. And I went through a lot as a child. So growing up, and I started to be a teenager, I was still a tomboy. It didn't get for me to be like 18 or 19 years old where I was like, let me embrace my femininity. And then that confidence literally was born. I didn't always have it. I was a boy. I would run all over the place with the boys. Me embracing my femininity and what it means to be a woman is when my confidence was born, because I didn't want nobody telling me what I couldn't do. Not a soul on the earth, mother, father, sister, brother, man, female, I don't care. I don't want nobody telling me nothing, because once that woman was born, oh, she was alive. She was big. It felt good. I'm like, ooh. Because if you're only a woman, only women understand what I'm talking about.
So I think there's a point, I think, for most young women, and I know gender is very fluid now, that you make that shift where, you know, you're not wearing the baggy clothes and you start to realize you're a girl. And, you know, I remember when I wanted to start wearing lipstick. So there is this shift.
It's the power.
It's a shift where you start going, okay, wait, this is what it's like to be a girl.
First of all, we shift in the room. Let's talk about that.
Yes.
Femininity shifts the room. Okay? When you walk into a room and you're a confident woman, you're shifting the room. And you know how Pop Smoke will say, oh, you shake the room. Hold on.
Yes, I know that song.
Hold on. As a woman, femininity shakes the room.
Right.
If you're confident in your femininity, you definitely shake the room. Your confidence shakes the room. Women feel it and men feel it.
So we've been talking a lot about confidence.
Yep.
But a lot of people struggle with it, Remy.
I know.
It's not as natural for a lot of people.
I know.
To just do what you're saying, right? Without feeling away or being self-conscious. So even if you come in with all that energy, you can walk in a room and people side-eye you.
They sure do.
They could, you know, say, wow, she's a lot. Femininity at the same time, there's also a thought process that you should be quiet, meek, you know, and sort of, you know, you shouldn't be making a whole lot of noise. Like, I know I have a loud personality.
I don't want no one to tell me to be meek. I'd be uncomfortable. I don't know how to be meek.
Yes. So don't you think we're sort of pushing the envelope on what the standard or what traditionally people see as a confident woman?
Yep. We busting it wide open.
Busting it wide open. So talk to me about coming up with producing and learning about radio. So for those that tuned in to understand, okay, according to statistics, 39.3% of all hosts are women, while 60.7% are men. So it's still very male dominant, right? But we're here, right?
We are, and we're making big moves, and we're shaping the conversations. So 9 times out of 10, when men tell stories, it's such a different perspective than women, right?
Talk about that. What do you mean?
Okay, so from a woman's perspective, and there's all types of different women, so I'm not trying to put this into some box. That's only my interpretation. But women have this raw, uncut kind of, sometimes it's nurturing, and sometimes it's abrasive. It can be on both sides, right?
I call it assertive.
Assertive, okay. So when women speak about certain things, a lot of times they'll trigger men, because men will deny everything that a woman is saying because they just don't want to admit it, right? So when we're bold about like what, there was a time when women never spoke. That's why they still want us to be submissive,
right?
Because we didn't talk our
Well, wait a minute. What did James Brown say?
What did he say?
What did he say?
What did he say, Coach?
What did he say? He said it's a man's world.
It's a man's world.
But it wouldn't be nothing without a woman or a girl.
That's a fact.
So when you think about that, first of all, we bring life.
We do.
We bring life. So you can't have life without a woman. That in itself is powerful. Is that we bring life.
That yin
and I
yang
think because we bring life in general, that's just what we do. Femininity in general is about bringing life. We bring energy, we bring vibe, we bring charisma, we bring positivity, optimism. We bring all of those things. Like you need that. So I think in this space, the reason why women are gravitating, because a lot of women are who those are our listeners. More women are listening to podcasts and listening to radio.
Do you
and
think
even
that
with
they
the
need
urban
somebody
heat,
to identify with or to connect with?
well, we do like connection, but we also like resources and information.
Okay, yes to that.
You know, I think we're very resourceful. Now, we haven't talked about me and our different roles, because you are a mompreneur.
I am.
What's one thing you think people would be surprised to know about you? I knew I was surprised, but I don't want to tell. What's
Well, I am a grandmother. I'm a grandmother to two beautiful girls. Shout out to my babies.
I did not know that.
Essence is 5 years old. She's a whole firecracker. She's my spirit animal. She's me. She's me at my age when she's 5, and that's mad scary. She controls the room. She knows you. As soon as she walks in, she knows who's in the room, and she knows how to dominate the room. She's a beast.
You better go ahead.
And she's 5 years old. And then I got Taylin, who's 1 year old, and she's a little softer, but she's a boss too. She got my genes. That's all I'm saying is my girls got my genes. But I'm a grandmother.
Yes.
And people don't see that. They look at me when I come in and they would never expect it.
But you have such a young, vibrant spirit. And, you know, shout out to everyone that's listening through iHeartRadio, YouTube.
Shout out to my Instagram.
Facebook, Instagram. We cover all the bases, right? Shout out to all the Urban Heat family that's tuned in right now and sharing the lives. Moonlight, thank you so much. Seth, thank you so much.
Hey guys.
Osala, thank you. We appreciate you guys tuning in and listening. As you know, you are listening to Conversations with Coach La, and I have my radio sister,
Ooh,
Remy in the city here.
I love me some Coach La.
Producer of R&B and Chill. If you have not checked out her show, you need to make sure you do so.
Wow.
So, we're talking about confidence, and we're talking about what people don't know about us. So when you see a particular person, we try to judge a book by its cover. But one thing you wouldn't know is that Remy is a grandmother, and you got some grown kids.
I do. My daughter's 25. Shout out to my baby. She's 20. She just turned 25 this year. I have a 20-year-old son and an 11-year-old. So if you think about them age gaps,
Yes.
I'm a mother to 3 different generations. It seems like to me.
Yes,
of
ma'am.
children. But you know what? This is something that's important, right? So when you come into a room, you're a lot of things, but people can only see one thing in you. So me being an entrepreneur, I'm doing that because I want my children to see that, and I want them to see that they can create something from whatever it is that they have within their passions, right? And that's what I've instilled in them, for them to be creative, for them to be entrepreneurs, for them to be hardworking, and to make happen.
Yes.
Like that's how I
Bet
come
on
in the
self,
room.
y'all.
Hello.
All
when
day.
your children, people don't realize how much your children pay attention to you.
They really do.
They do. Everything that you
They
do, they're literally, you're like making a blueprint for their adulthood.
They really are. And
That's scary to me, too.
When you speak of that, I have a 17-year-old son, and you never know the things that he's paying attention to. And he told somebody that his mother, meaning me, is one of the strongest people that he knows.
Come on.
But I'm also vulnerable enough to cry with him, express when things are difficult. So I think one of the things I've taken away, and this is also because I'm a therapist, is showing him both sides. He gets to see my yin and my yang.
Yeah.
He gets to see me handle business and also be soft, give him hugs, tell him he's great, that he's awesome, that he needs to work harder, that he needs to make his own lane.
I wish my homie was in here, because we were just talking about this. How important it is for a man to embrace and be comfortable with a woman being soft.
Yes. And I want him to see both.
You don't always have to be a strong woman. I'm so sick of that.
Yes.
I've had to dispel that myth too many times. I'm not strong. I'm surviving.
And I get this, and I'm glad you brought that up, because there's a difference between showing strength, right, and being resilient, and just being told, you know what, you're stronger than me, or couldn't be me. So some of the things that are connected to that is like you're allowing yourself to be mistreated and go through a lot, trauma, drama, whatever, and then somebody saying, you're really strong because you could tolerate all of that.
Who tells you you'll be all right? And you're like, hello, and you're screaming like
I'm not
all right.
It may look like I'm all right, but this is some hard stuff.
It's hard.
Even though I'm carrying it, doesn't mean it's not heavy. So I think part of why we're needed in this space, is to have these candid conversations and be real people. Like, at the end of the day, Coach La is real. Like, if you follow me on social media, I am authentically myself. I am naturally a positive person. I'm not really one to always be talking about negative stuff anyway. So you're not going to find those type of things. And primarily the reason why you don't find that is that Facebook and these places like to pop up your memories. I don't know about you. I don't want to remember my worst day.
First of all, miss me with the memories. I'm not who I was 5 years ago. But I'm kind of in a smart look. Like, I used to be spitting. 5 years ago, I was on the internet spitting some shit. I'd be like, hold on, let me write that down so I can remember that. Hold on.
Yeah, but that's a good memory, right?
Yeah.
So I don't want to be remembering like days that I was like in the dumps and sad.
I don't want to see the X pictures. Like, delete those.
Oh, that's ooh.
Oh.
I don't know about the whole deleting the X pictures. They was a part of your story. I don't know. That was actually a question somebody put on Twitter. Delete or not to delete. I say leave it. Who got time to be going through deleting stuff? That's just my opinion. We digress.
We digress.
We digress.
Cheers. You got wine? Cheers.
Cheers. We digress. We're not going to talk about exes, but we can. So speaking of that, how is Remy in love? Is you single?
Girl, leave me alone.
To get somebody else to do it?
Get somebody else to do it. All right, I am very much single.
Get somebody else to answer the question.
No, I'm very much single.
So what's your thoughts on love and dating, relationships?
Okay.
What's your perspective?
How does you do this? This is when I get in trouble.
How does that play into your confidence? Because for me, that has been
you both. Want me to talk? You know I'm Remy in the city. You know I talk. You want me to talk? You want me to talk?
But it can be a positive and a negative, right?
You want me to be me?
Yes, tell me the truth.
All right. Ask
Please.
me something. Because you know me, I talk spicy.
So when you think about dating and love, actually, I'm gonna rephrase the question. So being a woman in the industry in broadcasting, how does that impact your ability to date? Do you find that people are intimidated? Do they, is it difficult? Because you're known.
Mm-hmm. It is difficult because people don't always get it. And it's difficult because as an ambitious woman and a woman that owns a brand and a woman that's pushing herself into spaces where people are not always there. Okay, this is going to sound abrasive a little bit. Guys, please don't be mad at me, but I'm going to speak my truth right now.
Listen, this is Conversations with Coach La. We are having candid, real conversations. Like, this stuff is real.
Okay, so here goes my reality. Me dating is tough. Okay, I got a whole lot of things that I need. And when I date, I look for what I need, not who I can be anymore. Okay? Yes. I done shifted that. I used to be so much. I was Captain Saver. And I stopped. So now I'm dating for what I need, and it's tough. I've learned, please men speak up if you're not like this, that men love to find a woman that is what they need, but they don't know how to be what a woman needs.
Okay, so I do this thing with my clients because 90% of my practice is women. And there's an activity, I have two activities. One is a SWOT analysis. Of a SWOT analysis. They do it in business, but it's analysis of you and connection to your life. So what are your strengths?
Okay.
That's the S. What are your weaknesses?
Okay.
That's the W. What are your opportunities for growth? That's the O.
Okay.
And then the T is threats.
Oh.
Right? So external threats, things that threaten your overall life.
Okay.
Right? You can also do that with different relationships. So if you're dating, you can do this kind of analysis of the multiple, people that you might be rocking with. Like, what's their strengths? What's their weaknesses? What are their opportunities for growth? And what are their external threats? What are the things that threaten your ability to potentially have something long-lasting with them? And then you have the other activity, which is what are your wants, needs, and your non-negotiables.
Are we doing a whole session right now?
We're not. I'm just breaking this down. For
I was
anybody
like,
out
girl,
there.
I'm not gonna be outside on this live just exposing. Like what? Okay.
But what I say all of that to say, when I'm talking about us being women in radio and being out here, you know, often I'm like, well, shoot, is who I'm talking to listening to the show?
Yes.
Is he like listening?
You know
to
what makes
I'm
me
saying?
sick, fellas? Let me tell you what makes me sick. So there can be a guy that I'm dating, right? I could ask him, "Did you listen to my show?" "Oh, nah, I was working. I ain't checked the show." You know, right? And then as soon as we get on bad terms, I'm like, "You don't support me. I don't need you to
Be
be
knowing
moving around."
everything you go, every show.
You are now tuned in to every single R&B and chill episode. Like, fellas, that's what I'm talking about. Stop being like that. Like, if we need you to be a certain way, just listen to what we're saying the first time. I don't want to say it when I'm mad. I don't want to say it when I'm yelling. I don't want to say it when I'm frustrated. I don't want to say it when we're beefing. Because I've said it 5 times soft. And he was not listening to my soft times. And now I'm crazy because I'm yelling, "Rawr." But you wasn't listening when I said it 80 times nice.
But you know, I have come to understand.
I'm not dealing with the friends on my live because they are over here responding in real time.
Well, they should be. So shout out to Karen, Moonlight, Fawnessa. We got people in the live saying what's up to us. Hey, y'all.
Hey.
Shout out to all of the Urban Heat listeners for tuning in.
Yeah, my live.
So yes, we are having a candid conversation about.
We just freestyling.
Well, yes and no, because I kind of knew what I wanted to ask you. I just didn't know what you was going to say.
Oh, okay.
But I think that it's one of those things where to have confidence and to be authentically yourself, you still have this backdrop of social cues and understanding how to work a room, being able to read a room. So we still have this piece that we still have to adjust but still be ourselves. And let me explain. I'm always going to be an outgoing, ambitious, charismatic person. But I also know that in certain spaces, I may observe more in that space than I did talk.
Okay, yeah.
And people may be like, "Oh, well, you switched up." No, I was reading the room. You know, I was.
Like, let me be.
I was actually deciding who I wanted to connect with. So sometimes people may not understand how we utilize our gifts is what I'm getting at.
Okay.
They may think every time I walk in a room, I'm gonna be like, no. There's moments where I sit and they're like, "What's wrong with you? You're so quiet." And I'm like, I'm really not being quiet. This is a different space. I don't need to do that right now.
Well, I think that for me, like, Chanel Remy is a persona. And the dynamic thing about dating me is do not think you're going to date Chanel Remy.
Ooh. Now, tell me a little bit more about that.
Girl.
Because I know for me, all of my different Lala Renee, Coach La, Lakeisha, Keisha, Keish, La.
This is where it gets real. Like, don't, and this is my problem. Like, don't look at social media and don't follow my life. I've met guys that have multiple screenshots of me in their phone before we ever even connect.
Oh, geez, that's scary.
It's mad scary.
So how do you feel about, being somebody's true around the way girl and they just crushing like that?
I love y'all different, but if you want to date me in real life,
not make believe,
you got to come in the door willing to understand that I am Chanel Remy, but there's the other side of me that turns off, and I'm not Chanel Remy all day. If I say I'm a mom, first of all, you already know that's a whole different world. I take care of a home. I have a career. Chanel Remy is a persona. Remy in the City is a persona. It's literally like, this is entertainment. So y'all think y'all fell in love with Prince is because you love Prince. But then y'all get mad because Prince had flaws and Prince had days where he struggled and Prince went through what he went through. Y'all need to understand that this is entertainment industry, real life. Mm-hmm. So I'm not Prince. I'm not Beyonce. But I got my own stuff, and I'm Remy in the City, and I'm Chanel Remy, but I'm also my government name. If you know it, you know it. I'm a mother. I'm at home. I'm cooking real meals. I'm cleaning the house. I have a real career during the day that's complete alter ego than everything I do when I'm in media. So if you can't take the time to really understand the layers of that I don't show, you could never be my man, ever. And you're going to be tripped up and confused because I am so much woman, you might be overwhelmed.
You know, that was a word, a whole word for the people in the back. Say it louder for the people in the back. Amen.
That's deep,
but I think that what you're talking about is often what people come to therapy about, right? Like, how do I bring these different selves, these different personas together? You know,
you shouldn't have to.
I have this corporate, you know, at work, I got to make decisions. I'm a boss. Like, I run my whole practice. I make all the decisions. I got a whole house. Girl. I got a 17-year-old that's about to go to college. Like, I got real
I'm
life.
out here as the director of operations in an environmental justice organization.
Hello.
That is a complete different universe. We're not speaking the same language. The energy is not the same. My vibe is not the same. My hair is not the same. None of that is the same. I walk into an office and I deal with different things, different people. And the thing that gets crazy for me is the mixy.
Yes.
So I deal with politicians in my professional capacity. Then they see me in my, it's still professional.
Right.
It's a whole different world. It's a whole different persona. And they're like, okay, they get it, but y'all still confused. Like, but I don't have to explain it. But I do. It's a mess. It's actually a mess. Because those two worlds don't mix well.
And I think often this is the piece when we talk about being a woman in broadcasting or in radio. Often we are wearing multiple hats. It's not our full-time job. You know, something that came out, I think the salary for most broadcasting, like standard, is about $40,000. Me and you both know that's really not a lot of money.
No, that's no money.
So most people are doing this in conjunction to another job.
Indeed.
One of my biggest dualities is I'm a therapist by day, a radio personality by night. Yes, this is loosely based on a therapy session, but this is not how therapy is, guys. Just in case y'all was wondering, right? It's my clients will be like, yeah, my you know, Lakeisha, my therapist, has a similar vibe. Is very approachable. She's very fun. She breaks down, you know, different things. But this is entertainment. I'm definitely not sipping wine in a therapy
session, right?
You know, we're not doing that. And there's still going to be a certain level of boundaries. You know, we're being very friendly and different things like that. So again, this is loosely based on what it's like to talk to a therapist. But the reason why I wanted to do this show was to let people see that I'm a real person, right? And I'm not on a pedestal, and it's not, okay, well, I never been through anything or my whole life is perfect. I just got coping strategies, and I'm able to navigate the dynamics in a certain way. And I think those have helped me in that, well, maybe some people may be quick-tempered. I know how to chill, take space. I might move a little bit differently in situations where other people might lose their stuff.
Coach, you know what? At the end of the day, I don't think that we have the responsibility of helping. Okay. We don't have the responsibility of ensuring that people understand.
Nope.
We literally thrive in all of our spaces. But when it comes to an intimate space and you invite someone into your intimate space, which is your life, your home, right, in your bedroom, that's when you expect that the person that you're inviting in can drop all of the personas, like leave that there.
Right.
You should have a personal experience with me where you're able to say, I know her in real life.
That part. But here's the other caveat. And I give you flowers, much respect. For that to occur, you have to provide that piece
you have to be vulnerable and open
to be able to show that. There's some people that don't know how to come out of those personas. They are very much in that.
But that's where the problems come in, because you have to be able to turn it off.
And some people don't know how.
Right.
You know, some people don't know how. Just like confidence is something that you don't always possess every single day. You know, there's moments where I don't feel confident, right? There's moments where I need to do my mantras and my self-care. And, you know, I'm a therapist with a therapist because I got too many people coming to me, right? And that
it's like from you.
So it's like this. It's like on an airplane, that's my oxygen mask.
Right.
My therapist is my own oxygen mask. It makes sure that I'm getting fed, I'm resetting,
You taking care of yourself.
and I take care of myself, which allows me to always be in the overflow. So I'm never giving more than I don't have. Like I'm always giving from excess.
Okay.
Because I'm constantly making sure I take care of me.
I had a conversation like this earlier, and I love you for this. Because I was speaking to mommies today, and I was talking about boundaries, and I was talking about giving from your excess and not from your reserve. Okay?
And knowing when you need to pull back, you know, and take a moment. Because if you're like me, we do a million things. We got a million hats.
God.
We got so many ideas we want to do, new projects we want to execute. If
Who
anything,
told us to be this ambitious?
if anything, my biggest strength is also my weakness, which is I am full of ideas and I actually go out and execute them.
You a go-getting girl.
Listen, I go on. I was like, oh, I'm gonna wait to do pole therapy. I'm gonna wait. I'm gonna hold up. As you guys can see, pole therapy is back on April 28th.
Let me tell you something. April 28th, if you don't know about pole therapy, you need to be in the room on April 28th because
Absolutely.
it's a time where people come together and they don't always know what they're getting into, but when they get there, they understand.
Oh, it's a vibe.
Coach La, you are so phenomenal. And let me tell you something about me, because you wanted me to come here and talk about being a mompreneur, girl, being what else? A radio personality, like all these things. All of that aside, I'm a woman. And
First and foremost,
I'm a woman. And I'm flawed. I'm flawed and I'm perfect at the same time. Because when I go outside, I tell myself my confidence comes from me saying, I got it. So when I said earlier, you got it, girl, I'm feeding that drive that gets me up even when I don't have it. Let's talk. Can I curate the conversation?
Listen,
right now?
we got 8 minutes to wrap up our beautiful dialogue.
So this is what
These are final thoughts from Remy.
This is what is important for me. In real life, what people don't know is that I really struggle with high functioning depression. And I rarely talk about this. The only time I talk about this is when I feel like it's affecting people who love me and they don't understand where my mood or my moves are coming from. In real life, I struggle with high functioning depression. I am depressed. That is not a mood.
No.
Okay?
No.
So, the reason why I'm saying this right now is because I don't talk about it. And people expect me to be a certain way, and they don't understand when I'm not that way. They don't get it. But you have to understand that a lot of people that's on the public, like a public figure, which they love to say, or even mothers, even regular everyday people, there's things that we want the world to see that we literally create for them, right? We create it because we don't want to alter whatever their image is of us. But high functioning depression is after we've given you our smiles and we're beautiful and we're vibrant and we're delivering everything that you need from us, we go in and we're defeated and we're in the bed for days and we're struggling and we're literally pulling from nothing. Like high functioning depression is a sickness. And I talk about it and it's sensitive to me because in real life, I really battle with that. And people don't know that about me. But the reason why I say it is because there's a lot of women that do and they don't even know what they're dealing with.
Right.
Like if you have a real job that is demanding and you get up and you deliver every day and you've done checked off all the boxes for whatever your job needs from you and you go home and you fold. Maybe you're crying. Maybe you're finding those vices. You're using whatever soothes you. Some people use drugs. I don't. Some people alcohol. Some people use sex. They use different things that appease them, that get them to get to the next day, right? You have to deal with the real core issues because the world is always going to want you to be that high functioning person. But when you're not that and you don't deal with the real you, you could literally lose your life for not addressing that real hurt or that real loneliness and pain and suffering that you endure every day. And I'm only saying this because I want to wake up something in someone who's beautiful on the outside, and everybody loves them for what we give to the world. But if you're not that when you're by yourself and you're hurt and you're suffering, there is really help for that.
I'm glad that you shared that, because part of why I said, well, how did you learn that and how did you do that? What we learn how to do is to compensate, and we learn how to survive. And we learn how to use distractions.
Girl.
And, all of the things that we do, our hobbies and different things, often are to help us have something else to look forward to.
Yeah.
Right? So this show is like, yes, a lot of people don't realize, it's still something that is an outlet that's separate of my regular everyday world. It allows me a space to just talk about whatever I want to talk about. I think it's really cool. It's intentional that it's on a Sunday at 10 o'clock at night. Most people are sleeping. It's not necessarily.
Did you create a safe space, La?
It's a safe space. It's now people are winding down. Your kids are probably asleep. For all the insomnia people and all of the people that just want to tap in, it's a space to normalize talking about life.
Right.
In a real candid, real life way. Right? With people who you look up to, who you admire, who you think got it going on. So I thank you so much for being so transparent and sharing that with the world, because often you can't tell. Depression, anxiety, these are things that you can't see. You can't pinpoint and say, what you think it is. Some people that are depressed, well, like you said, you will never know. Who's the gentleman? Oh my God, I hate when my brain does this. He just recently committed suicide.
The dancer.
The dancer. My brain.
What's his name, y'all? The dancer. He was on Ellen DeGeneres.
You guys know who I'm talking about. Somebody know who it is? Throw it in the chat.
She's gonna get it.
Anyway, and I'm sad that
I'm glad that you brought that up, because
he had functioning high functioning.
You know how they brought up
depression
that 2 days or whatever before he committed suicide, he was dancing on video and he looked happy.
Yes.
That is that's like him putting on.
Right.
It's what people expected him to be. Mm-hmm. So he did that for them. It wasn't for him. It's because he loved people and he knew what they expected from him, and he's gonna do what they expect. But when them cameras turn off, he did with his real self.
Yes.
And you know what's scary for me?
You gotta be able to know.
Twitch. There's some people.
So I was saying his name. I was scared. So Twitch, he had that dynamic.
There's some people
we got 2 minutes.
Okay, let's wrap it up.
Let's wrap up the conversation.
Okay.
So guys, you've been tuned into the Urban Heat. This is Conversation with Coach La. This is one of those days where I feel like I needed 2 hours. But Remy, this has been an awesome conversation. I have to have you come back. So
I would love to.
What do you want to encourage people to do? What do you want your final thoughts to be? What's a Remy gym?
Okay. So for me, with all that I've shared with you tonight, no matter where you are in the world, I want you to just be honest with your true self. When everybody's gone out of the room and you're just really dealing with yourself, I want you to be honest with yourself. If you are struggling with things and you need help and you need someone to help you get through things, seek the help that you need. Even if you feel like you're on top of the world, I just want you to be true to yourself at all times, because everything that you give to the world, those are gifts. But if you don't gift yourself with peace, if you don't gift yourself with healing, if you don't gift yourself with love and compassion, you actually are depriving yourself from what life is really all about. So you can be a million things in the world, but if you're nothing for yourself, you done lost everything.
Well, I think that was nothing but a word. You guys know you tuned in to Conversations with Coach La. And, I tell you to keep having those conversations and to continue to bet on self. Next week we will be back for another dope conversation. Y'all stay blessed and keep on having those conversations. Y'all have a wonderful night.
Love you, Coach.
Good night.
And beyond. Heat981fm.com and iHeart Station.